Okay, welcome back to part 2 of our approximately 40 apps in somewhere around 40 minutes webinar. Okay, so it's 60 apps in 120 minutes, but that's okay because we're going through this in a lot more detail and you're getting credit for this in Pathlore. So welcome back. We're going to go through the rest of these apps in the next hour and hopefully you can get a lot out of this. I'm going to skip through the information about getting credit in Pathlore because you already know how to do that because you watched part 1, and I'm also going to skip the Blend Ed information because you are familiar with that from part 1. So let's get right into it. Okay, the next series of apps that we're going to talk about, apps 24 through 40. So this is a big chunk of apps, and is along the lines of, these apps are along the lines of digital publishing. Now there are so many apps for this because to me this is really the strength of the iPad. So many of the things that, because we're talking about student use, not necessarily teacher use. This is where the iPads are so powerful in that they allow students to, in a variety of ways, demonstrate what they've learned and what they know and what they can do, the skills that they've developed. And so I'm really, really excited about the digital publishing apps, and this is, like I said, this is why I love the iPads. Now the first of these apps is the Shadow Puppet EDU app. This is a storytelling, and it allows you to combine photos and videos to add your own narration and music and text to the video and then rearrange the image easily. It's a very easy app to use with students. The videos save easily to the camera roll, and it makes it easy to turn them in through your learning management system or through Google Classroom. It can be used by the elementary students. It's been used with kindergarten students and third grade students, but it's a great app for any age. So it's not something that is necessarily limited to the elementary school students. The next app is called Book Creator, and this is a great app. It makes the creation of books extremely simple. Now I will say that, and I usually like to put a visual on the slide, and I left it off of this one. This is a freemium app. You have in the app, in the free version of the app, you are allowed to create only one book. Now you can create and then recreate that book any number of times that you might need to if you want to use the free version. I do. This is one of only a handful of apps that I've ever actually purchased for myself, and I say that it is definitely worth it to have the full functionality of the purchased app, because then you can create an unlimited number of books, and it's really a great tool. The books, they're clean. They're very clean looking. That you can quickly and easily add images to and video. It's easy to edit the text and to draw within it if you need to. Changing fonts and resizing text is very easy to do. Like I said, you can even add videos. You can add voice to your books. You can have the students can record themselves reading their books, and it will actually play back with them reading the book out loud. The books can be printed out as a PDF. They can be published as an EPUB as well, and as a video, and that's really cool to have the books published as a video. And then if you have, because these books are multimedia, if you have video inside the book, when the video of the book is playing, it will pause while the video that's inside the book plays, and it's makes it for a cool effect, I think. But like I said, to get the full power of the app, you do need to have the purchase version. It is half price if you're purchasing it for multiple iPads through volume purchasing. And I don't remember how many, 10 or 20, how many copies you have to purchase to get the volume purchasing price, but it's definitely worth it. Okay, the 50% off. So Book Creator is one that I definitely promote quite a bit. The next app is Comic Heads Lite. This app is really nice because kids are really into making comic books. The kids like, I remember as a kid I used to like to read comic books, and the ability with the technology that kids have now to create their own comic books provides for a great way of explaining what they know, narrating a story, demonstrating a skill. it can be used in any classroom as well. There are lots of layout options for students to use, including different scenes, different characters, word bubbles. It's just a creative way for students to demonstrate their understanding. I would like to imagine in a science classroom with the students and using a comic book format to explain some sort of scientific process, or in a history classroom, a social studies lesson, to explain or summarize a historical event. They could use it even with persuasive writing or an autobiography. And when they've completed the comic, they can save it to the camera roll as an image, and once again, it can be easily shared with other classmates. It can be submitted through Google Classroom or Edmodo or Canvas or whatever you're using to collect the students' assignments. This is the light version, so there is a full version available as an upgrade, but I don't know, this isn't one that I would say that you need to upgrade and pay for, because it does work very well in the free version, and it's fun. Like I said, it's fun and easy to use. PicCollage is the next app, and it's a good way for kids to create graphics or infographics. It is free, and one of the nice things about it is in the settings that are available, you can add some restrictions for the younger students that would limit where they can share and where they can search to find the images for their infographics. Some of the features include options for different layouts, including some comic book looking layouts. There is photo editing within the app. They can add stickers and backgrounds, and finally they publish it to the camera roll so that it can be easily shared or submitted. ChatterKids, or sometimes I've seen this called ChatterPix, allows you to, like it says, bring photos and pictures to life by making them talk with voice narration. And it's really simple to use. You take an image and you draw a line, and it has to be a straight line. It doesn't allow for a curved line. You draw a line where you would like it to make the mouth for speaking. And then you record your voice, or the students record their own voice, and it becomes a 30-second video. Images can be taken directly within the app, or they can be imported from the camera roll. Students can use this app and then retell a story or tell their own story. They can explain a concept or something they've learned. You can use it just to have kids record themselves reading. Let's say you have a picture of the character from a story, and they record themselves reading, but it looks like it makes it look almost like the character reading, because it is just a straight line for the mouth. That it does look a little funky, and that's kind of part of the fun of it, I think, is that it does, it's obviously not it's full animation with that you can, it looks like the character is authentically talking. It's not designed to do that. It's just to make a straight line mouth that has the students or your voice narrating or reading out whatever it is you want to read. Students could take a photo of themselves, or you can take a green screen image and put it into another app and use it as a background, and so that will just it's a lot of fun to use. As well, you can use when you take a pic. Just a little note here that when you're taking a picture, it helps to have a solid background behind it, and that makes it a lot easier for it to process in this using this app. We have a stop motion animation. Lego Movie Maker. We think about some of the Lego movies animations that you can see online, and it's just that. It's that stop motion animation. I'm not going to talk a lot about that. It's just a creative way that students can use to create a movie and demonstrate their understanding. The next app is WordPack. This is a word cloud creator, similar to some of them that you've seen online, but this is done in the app. And this one will let the students save their image or their words, the image of their words, in a shape. Students can type words directly into the app, or they can copy and paste. They can choose the color, the shape, and the layout or direction of their words. It's a great tool for vocabulary, for character analysis, for descriptors of novels or stories, or any other subject where you'd want to have what you'd want to focus on the vocabulary of the words and use it for that creation of that word cloud. Story Creator is another easy to use ebook publishing app. Students get to customize the cover of their book, and then within the book they can use easy drawing tools to they have the ability to add text and to record their voice. One feature that's a little different in Story Creator than some of the others is that when students record their voices, they can align it to the words as they're reading, so they can allow the book to be read out loud with their audio to go with it. It's easy to share books with teachers. The teachers create an account on their site, and then the book gets shared through the app with the teacher. Okay, the Green Screen app is a paid app. It's not very expensive, $2.99, half price of going through volume purchasing. It is a phenomenal app for combining video and putting in a backdrop. It's very easy to use. I do an app share of this, a demo of this in my app smashing webinar. If you want to go see that, I really like to use it to do it. For a little bit of context, if you're not familiar with the green screen concept, if you've watched the news with the meteorologist who's standing in front of the map and pointing to that interactive map about to explain the weather. That's what a green screen can allow you to do. You have this green background that you use, and when I do green screen stuff, I go down to one of the dollar stores and buy a dollar green tablecloth or two and put those behind me, and that works really well, and it's cost next to nothing. And so you record yourself. Make sure that you are not wearing anything green. That you wear colors that are quite not even close to green, because if you're wearing anything green, or even if you have green eyes, or I've seen kids with the green hair, the green screen app will make those disappear and replace it with the background, which really makes things look kind of funky, although it is entertaining. But it replaces the app then replaces that background with a background of your choice, and that background could be a still image, it could be a video. And so it's really super easy to use. The first time that I saw this used was I want to say it was at Rundle Elementary School, or Stanford Elementary School, one of those elementary schools up in the east side of town, where the students were working on a project about Mars. And they'd done some research on Mars and learned about it, and they recorded themselves. The kids had recorded themselves speaking and explaining what they knew about Mars in front of a green backdrop. Well, what the kids then did is using this green screen app, they put in a background, an image of the planet Mars behind them. And so as the students were talking about Mars, here they had Mars behind them. And so think about how powerful that would be. I think about a classroom that was doing a report on volcanoes, and they had video of erupting volcanoes behind them, and how that added to their presentation and increased their level of engagement, increased the ability that they had to explain what was happening in that video as it was really happening, and how much better that is than having the student just stand in front of the class and talk at the class. It really allows for the integration of multimedia into those presentations. So great app, one of the few that I do recommend purchasing, even if it was only purchased on a couple of iPads for students to use. They could share it and create those videos. Canva is great. This is how I create all of my flyers and posters. It's simple to use for anybody. It is I don't have the link up on the screen, but it is not just an app on the iPad, it is also a website. And so the two go back and forth and work together. Like I said, striking visual images, posters, and flyers. It simplifies graphic design. There's photo editing that's included in it. There's built-in tables and borders. It's a really easy way to create some images that you can use. So if part of a student's assignment is to create an infographic, or if they need some sort of a visual image as a backdrop for what they're explaining, Canva is a great place to go. It's free. You can import your own images for free. It does have purchases that you can make inside the app. if there's an image that you wanted to use that is not free, you would have to purchase it. But I've never purchased anything from them. I just use the free stuff and stuff I bring in myself. Okay, Toontastic 3D is my little guys at home, their favorite app. And there's two versions of Toontastic. There's the older version, which you see the icon, the logo for in the upper left there, and then the newer Toontastic 3D in the lower right. And I apologize that I didn't include the link for the Android, because Toontastic 3D, the newer one, is also available on the for Android devices. Now, Toontastic 3D and Toontastic are super easy to use. Like I said, my little guys at home use them. Ages 3 and 6. My 6-year-old taught my 3-year-old to do it. He does it with no help from anybody now. Not a problem. And I love to watch his little videos that he creates. They're very entertaining. I don't usually understand the storyline that he's following, but he does, and that's all that matters for him. So what Toontastic allows you to do is it allows you to create a setting for each scene, select the characters, and any animations or props that you need for that scene, and you can then inside that scene tell the story. So as you move characters around, you record your voice, so you are talking for the characters. You could have multiple people, a group project, imagine with multiple students, one being the voice for each character, and they're both talking and the iPad's recording both of them. As well, it will allow you to, when you move the characters, they have animations that they move. You can have other animations that you bring in, for such as the rain or the snow or tornadoes or explosions, different things like that that you can use. As well, for each scene you can set some background music, and so you can use that background music, and the background music is tied to emotions. So your students determine the mood of the scene that they want to set, and then we'll find the appropriate background music to help establish that mood. Now, as one is creating a Toontastic 3D file or project, it does follow Freytag's pyramid, the plot line, the plot chart, from exposition to resolution. Although you don't have to have all 5 components, you can do just one component if you like. Or I imagine that you could add more scenes than the 5. I've never tried adding more. I just never even thought about it until right now. I suppose that you could have more scenes if you like. Again, real easy to use. It exports to the camera roll, and it can be submitted that way as a file, just as a movie file. So that's one that I highly recommend. Stop Motion Studio. I spent a couple of years living in England when I was younger, and I really loved the British, those Wallace and Gromit videos that they created using stop motion. And so that's what I think of when I think of these stop motion studio apps, these stop motion videos. Think about the Lego shorts that I talked about a little bit earlier. It's just an easy app to create these types of videos. Adobe Spark Video. If you've been listening to my webinars for any length of time, you've heard me talk about Adobe Spark Video. They used to call it Adobe Voice and changed the name just a couple years back. I usually slip into calling it Adobe Voice when I'm talking about it. This is used to create short slide-by-slide videos, and it is really a powerful tool for students to demonstrate their learning. The first thing that I really like about it is it does not rely heavily upon text. Students will bring in an image. Usually these images are just icons, and then icons or logos, and then the students will talk, and they record slide by slide. So the student doesn't have to record the full presentation at one time. All they have to do to record at one time is just the audio that goes with that slide. And that's really important, because so often if students have to record something that's a little bit more lengthy, when they mess up, they have to go back and re-record 3 or 4 minutes of audio or a video, and that really becomes very labor intensive. Whereas if you only have to re-record 10 seconds, 15 seconds, that's much more manageable. In addition, because it does rely upon the images and the the icons, it's to me a better gauge of what students know than having a whole bunch of text on a screen for them to read. And the other reason that I really like Adobe Spark Video is because it gives a voice to those students who, because of lack of confidence or shyness or some other reason, simply are unable to stand up in front of your class and give a full presentation. The modality of that presentation prevents them from demonstrating what they can do or what they do know. I think about my own self as a middle school kid, having to give a presentation and just standing up in front of a class, trembling in fear and shaking, and not that we don't, because we do want students to get out of their comfort zones, and we have to be aware of that zone of proximal development and pushing students slowly out of their comfort zone, bit by bit. I was thrown in on the deep end there, something that I still, almost 30 years later, remember that feeling of being up in front of that class, and that in and of itself did not help me to have any more confidence. In fact, it actually, reaffirmed my fears. And so this will, an app like this allows students to record themselves speaking, because it is much easier to speak to a device than it is to speak in front of a crowd, and then they can demonstrate their learning that way. So Adobe Spark Video. Haiku Deck is another one of my favorite apps. This one I like to use when I'm doing a face-to-face presentation. And the reason I like to use it for a face-to-face presentation is because, just like Adobe Spark Video, it forces me to not put a whole bunch of text on the screen. I don't know, well, I know every one of you has been in presentations or seen students who put everything on the screen that they're going to say and just sit there in front of class reading the PowerPoint to you. How painful is that? But we do it to our kids. Instead, Haiku Deck, because it is image dependent, you can have a little bit of text on the screen, but not very much. It forces the presenter to talk to the audience rather than to read the slide. And this really is important for improving the depth of what one knows. For our students, they might just copy and paste information onto a slide. They get up and present, and they hit all the points that we have in our rubric. But do they really know the information? If all they can do is read it, I don't know that they actually. I would venture to say that they are not. They haven't internalized it. They really don't know it and don't have mastery. Whereas if there's an image up on the screen and they're talking to the audience, one person to another, or one person to a group of people, then they actually have a little bit more mastery of the content. And Haiku Deck, the other side of this is, we've all sat in presentations when the speaker is just reading the text on the screen. What do we do as an audience? We shut down our listening because we know that we can read the text on the screen just as well, if not better, than the person presenting. And so if the text isn't on the screen, then it forces that interaction, that engagement between the audience and the presenter. They have an image that they can relate to the content that is being discussed, and there's that eye contact and that interaction between audience and presenter. And so Haiku Deck is a great tool that I highly encourage teachers to use with their students when they have iPads available. It is an iPad app as well. It is online, so that anything that you create in the app is also created and available through the internet from any device. iMovie is the classic video editing app that really made the iPad what it is today. It is the one that comes standard on the iPad. I think from iPad 3s on. I don't believe it was on the 1 and 2s. I'm pretty sure it was on the 3s, and it comes standard on all iPads now. And it's really super easy to use. And you simply record video. You can then edit the video. You can trim it and clip it and insert credits and transitions. Students are very adept at using iMovie. I do have to say that there are some classrooms in which iMovie is the only tool that's used, and I do not by any means advocate for that. I think with any tool, less is more, and if you're using the same tool all the time, then it becomes less of a, how do I put this nicely? It becomes overkill. It's too much, and so it should not be the go-to on all occasions. But it is an easy way for students to edit video if they need to edit video. And then I always recommend that they take it from iMovie into something else, or that they use iMovie as the means of compiling video that they brought in from other sources and editing that video. And so simply having students record their iMovie trailers all the time and using that as the only tool is a little bit overdone, I think. But it is, like I said, it's a great tool. It does have two areas when you get into iMovie. There's the freeform where you're just doing it however you want, and then there's the iMovie trailers, which allows it to be like a movie trailer, like you would see when you go to the movies and you see the previews. So good app. Telegami is the next app that I'd like to talk to you about. It allows students to create narrated animations. Students select their own avatar or character, and they are able to customize it. What's really nice about this is that students are able to make the avatar look like themselves, or they can change their hair and do whatever they want to change it to look like. There are add-ons that cost money, or in-app purchases, I should say, and so you do have limited functionality as to how much you can change it. But I think it's probably enough with it, with what they have. I don't think I can make my hair green or purple, but I think the natural colors are all there. Backgrounds can be selected either from the choices in the app, or you can import images from the camera roll on your device. Students add their voices to their animations to tell stories, or to give a report on something that they're studying to explain what they've learned. And it's really neat that it does calibrate the character to your voice. And so the character's lips will move as you're speaking once it's analyzed your voice. And so it actually looks like the character is speaking, and it does hand gestures that you would do if you were having an actual conversation or explaining something in person. And so that part is really neat. As well, you can change the facial expressions to give it emotion, from excited to scared to bored to silly. And so that's neat for students to be able to do. I like to put a green screen background on my Telegami, and then use the green screen app to take that video that I produced after I've exported from Telegami to the camera roll, and put a different background in it, and or to use another video with it and have them going back and forth to allow for that kind of integration. So that's Telegami. Finally, instead of one app, I have a set of associated apps, or related apps from the International Reading Association, or Read Write Think, and they have nine apps available that range from poem writing to trading cards. There's an alphabet organizer that allows students or teachers to create worksheets based on letters, and a crossword puzzle maker. These apps work really well in a center because they allow for many students to sign in and save their work, and then continue to come back as needed. So if you're a teacher who only has one iPad in the classroom, this entire group of apps could work really well in the centers in your classroom. And those are our apps to publish digitally. Okay, the next set of apps focuses on professional productivity, and these can be used by you as the teacher or by our students, and so these are real easy. The Wunderlist app allows it can be used, by people. I know people use it in their personal life and their professional life. Microsoft bought it out a while back and has made some additional improvements. Basically, this is a app allows you to. It is a list and task manager. As it says, you can capture, share, and complete your to-dos from anywhere. And so, if you have them on your iPhone, your iPad, wherever you have this list, you can it's that to-do list that you carry around instead of doing it on sticky notes or whatever you used to use. You can do it on your phone, on your iPad. It's good for students. They can use it to organize themselves, especially because of the collaborative feature of it. They can use it in small groups and organize themselves that way. Remind, this is a teacher tool, and it used to be called Remind 101. They got rid of the 101 at the end a little while ago as well. Most of you have probably seen this. This is going to allow you as the teacher to easily send text message updates to students and parents without giving out your personal phone number. So it's kind of a masking situation. You set up your account online and you give out the code to whomever wants to get your messages. They opt in using the text message feature on their own device. They have the ability to opt out at any time. And so it sets this up as a firewall so that it protects you, it protects the students. You don't have access to their phone numbers. They don't have access to your phone number with this. And so there's that protection on both ends. But if you need to send out the information, they're going to get the information and not get your phone number that's tied to it. They've added some new features where you can have them text back to you, but again, it's not going to bombard your phone. So it's a nice little app for you to be able to get that information out to your students easily. I know a lot of you are already using it. TED. I think most of you have seen TED before, and so you figured it out. TED's tagline is that it's ideas worth spreading. It is an international conference. It's ongoing. It's held at locations throughout the world. There's a big TED conference yearly. They have all kinds of mini conferences for particular zones. They have TED specific to different industries. They have TED Education. You're going to find topics about anything that you can possibly imagine. I think TED is a great app to have to be able to show students talks from and speeches and to expose them to information from all around the world and all different aspects of society. Just so you know, TED is a great tool for professional development. There are some things on there that you would have to filter and that you would not want to assign to students. Google Translate. As it says, never be at a loss for words. Use this app to translate between many languages. I know that sometimes we have students who are coming from diverse countries and who have the need to translate information and text into English. A lot of times, a lot of our students are Spanish speakers, and so we tend to rely upon those other Spanish speakers in our classes to help them out if we don't speak Spanish ourselves. I know a lot of you do. I remember once I had a student that came in, and I just made the erroneous assumption that she spoke Spanish. And I had some other students in the class who were ELL students who were exited from ELL and were skilled in both English and Spanish. And I asked them to help her out, and a week or so went by, and I was looking at the students and say, "Hey guys, why aren't you helping her?" And they look at me and say, "Mr. Oakton, she doesn't speak Spanish." And it turns out she was from Brazil and only spoke Portuguese, which, because of the language barrier, I didn't even realize that. I just made a fallacious assumption there. Or like that same year, and actually the same class, I had another student who came to my class from Pakistan and only spoke Urdu, spoke no English at all. And I think about, what a great benefit this would have been, this Google Translate tool, to be able to allow them to communicate, that they could at least put the text in their language. And as imperfect as the translations sometimes are, it would have been better than the zero communication that we had, because I really had no way of communicating with this poor young woman who spoke only Urdu, and I didn't have the skills and the abilities to as she was a junior in high school, to be able to provide that support for her. I didn't have the expertise or the know-how back at that time, at least. And so keep in mind that Google Translate does not, it is a computer translation, does not provide the same level of translation that you would get when you're consulting a native speaker. But if you need to do a quick translation on the fly, it's great for that. And it is, it's learning, it's continually improving. ClassDojo is the amazing classroom management app, I guess is the best way to explain it. It is great for tracking student behavior and engagement in class. You create a teacher account online, and you create your class at that time. You can just put your students' names in, and you can type them in by hand or upload them. It allows you to make notes about your students throughout the day, both positive or areas for improvement, and you can you can use this ClassDojo then to communicate this information out to parents, both positive and negative. For our older students, you can make their behavior marks a little bit more sophisticated. Each student does have a character, an avatar that they have associated with this. A lot of our teachers have their ClassDojo website just up on their smart boards throughout the day, and the students can come up and tap if they're on task or off task. They can issue points for themselves when they're on task. It's nice in the mobile environment because as a teacher you can be walking around with your device and issue points to students as well. So it's really a neat way to provide some feedback and to create for that parent communication as well. Parents can actually log in to see their child's progress and get those notifications. Keep in mind that the behavior requirements at the elementary and secondary level still do need to go on the report cards, and this can help you to track students, as well as you're looking at their engagement and how you can track that engagement to justify the citizenship marks that you are issuing. Okay, QR reader. It doesn't have to be this one. There are a number of QR scanners out there, QR readers that you can use, and this is a really great tool that you can use in the classroom. If you have some information, maybe there's a website that you want students to go to, you can create a QR code for that website, and the students in your class, if they have the devices, can just scan that QR code. Maybe you post some QR codes around the classroom, and you have students in small groups working on assignments, whether you give them those QR codes at their desk, they have to go around the classroom and walk around and scan the QR code to get access to the site or get the content that you want to give them. It's just a little way of doing that. Of course, for those of you who have not converted to Google or intransigent in your desires to stick with Microsoft Office, Microsoft does have apps that you can use on the iPad. That's all I'm going to say about them, but I want you to be aware of those. As well, some of you really like the Apple productivity suite. Pages works like Microsoft Word, Keynote works like PowerPoint, and Numbers works like Excel. Those come in as part of the iPad. They come with the iPads, and so if you have those on there, you don't necessarily have to use the Google products. I do prefer those, but some people like, especially with Numbers, people like how they can use Numbers and integrate some images and some of the formatting that they can do with these particular apps. And so if you're one of those people, great. If you are a Mac user and like to have things that go back and forth between your Mac and your iPad, that works wonderfully for you as well, and more power to you, go for it. Notability, this is a tool that I use all the time. It's just for note taking. It does have a cost to it. It's a $10 cost, but I love to use it, and I use it for taking notes. And what I really like about it is you can take PDFs and import them in. You can take pictures and import them in. You can record audio as you're taking notes, and when you import these texts or these PDFs or these images, you can write right on top of them. There's a pen feature, and you can write just with your finger or with a stylus if you have a stylus for the iPad. If you have these on student devices, if you're in one of the one-to-one schools using the iPads, I know a lot of them are using Notability, where it's on all the iPads, and so the students use this to take notes. And especially think about the guided notes, where you give them you send out a PDF, they import it into their Notability, and then they take notes on that PDF. And so they have some of the information there already, and then they add their own notes to it. That way they're not busy, don't have to jot down every single thing, but they can make those connections in their notes. It's a great tool. As well, Notability does integrate with your Google account, so those notes can be automatically uploaded into your Google account and accessed from your Google Drive, which is really neat. As well, we have some subject-specific apps, and these are going to be our just about wrapping up here. There's a collection of Math Learning Center apps that really this is it's not so much a series of apps for the iPad, but a website, a group of math apps that you can use online on your computers. You can use them on a Chromebook or anywhere. There's interactive manipulatives that include number lines, geoboards, pattern pieces, and some vocabulary cards. And they're all separate apps, and you can just use the ones that you feel like you want to use, or that your students want to use. Seesaw is a way for students to document their learning by creating a digital portfolio. Students use it to document their work through photos, videos, drawings, text and notes, links, PDFs, and teachers have to approve the document at work before it will go to the device. So it's not that the students can just go in there and put in whatever they would like. There's a teacher interaction with these portfolios. Additionally, there is a parent version of Seesaw that will allow the parent to see what the student is documenting. So if you need to communicate a little bit better with the parents, or have them see what your students are working on in class, you can show the parents how the students are progressing throughout the year based upon the work that they're putting into their own Seesaw account. And so Seesaw is just a portfolio tool. It's a group. The Max Slide apps are a group of apps that allow students to play educational math games by themselves against other students. They join a game where they slide the correct answer to addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division questions. There are also a lot of number sense games where students have to slide the correct number shown on the app. You can have up to 4 students play it at one time on a single iPad. MathShake is an interactive word problem solving app. Students learn how to pick out important parts of a word problem, and they turn them into equations, while the app will guide them through the specific wordage that is being used on the math problem that they're presented with. It's free. The beginner parts are free to this, and there are parts that you have to purchase to get to the advanced levels. If you try it out with a beginner version, you'll get to see how good of a tool it is, and how students that need help with word problems can benefit from it. Khan Academy provides digital content, so if you're looking at flipping portions of your class and you're looking for that content, don't think that you have to create it all yourself. There are lots of really good presentations and instruction videos available on Khan Academy, and you can use that, and the app can help you. One of the great things about it is that when you have your students working in it, you can actually assign them the videos in Khan Academy and the assignments, and you can see what they're working on, and it helps students to work at their own pace and to work at their own level. Bluster is from McGraw-Hill. It allows students to practice word skills such as rhyming prefixes and suffixes, adjectives, and they compete with each other. They can play solo, or they can compete with other students. Desmos is a graphing calculator app that does everything that my old Texas Instruments graphing calculator would do 20 some odd years ago and more. There's sliders, tables, statistics, calculus. You can zoom into points of interest on a graph, and you focus on inequalities. I have to tell you, this Desmos app and the capabilities that it has with graphing can really be a benefit for students. So that's Desmos. Okay, Front Row started off as a math app, and now it supports math, English language arts, science, and social studies. We just recently, the last year or so, added the science and social studies aspects. It's really interesting because it has a teacher and a student part to it. If you log in as a teacher, you set up your grade level with your class roster. Then the students log in under the class code that you created, and they take a prescriptive test. And then front row assigns work based on their abilities. Some will be grade level work, and it'll be at their level. It is Common Core aligned with lots and lots of questions. I've seen that it has over 30,000 questions, and that's probably much more than that, over 20,000 videos available, and it's all free. There is a paid school edition that gives you access to more detailed reports, but you do get to pull some reports as a teacher now. And the ELA site allows you as a teacher to assign up to 5 articles per month to the students, where they read it and answer a variety of questions, and it will give you and them, the students, an idea for how well they're progressing. The articles and the questions are just based on their initial assessment, so the material is not too easy or too difficult for the students. The next set of apps, and there's just a couple left, that we're going to show are used for demonstration. If you've ever considered flipping your classroom, where you would want to create a demonstration of something that you wanted to do, then you could save it as a movie and send it to your students, post it in your Google Classroom, post it in Edpuzzle like I'm doing right now, or if there's something that you want, sometimes that you want your students to show something that they know, they can use these next couple of apps for that. And the first one is Doceri, or Doceri. It's an interactive whiteboard app that allows you to screencast. You can add images, you can write down notes, you can solve problems. Basically, imagine having students going up to the whiteboard in front of the classroom and doing some work and explaining their work. They are recording that on an iPad, except instead of recording the video, that's having somebody stand behind them and record them working at the whiteboard, they can use the app whiteboard and do the work themselves while the device records them. It doesn't have their image. It doesn't have a picture of them. It doesn't have video of them. It just records the screen only. You can edit it. You can replay. You can set stopping points of your presentations. You can do voiceover. Sharing is as simple as dragging and dropping, and you save it to the camera roll at the end, and you upload it from there. Now, Explain Everything works the same way. It's also an interactive whiteboard. You can import and insert any document, picture, or video into Explain Everything. You can even video yourself while you're using the app. You can move and animate objects as well, and draw and annotate over objects. Even on your videos, you can record and play and redo parts. So if you make a mistake, you can go back and re-record it. Sharing is easy as well with Explain Everything. There is a cost on Explain Everything. Last time I looked, it was $2.99. And finally, our very last app, and this is not a sharing app, this is a classroom management app. To me, this is the game changer in what we do with our iPads, because so often the problem that people would come to me with is that they'd say, my students have the devices, they're playing games on them. What do I do? And my response was, always a little tongue-in-cheek. I'd say there's an app for that. It's called the 2 Feet and 2 Eyes app. You need to be up and walking around your classroom, and being aware of what the students. If you're sitting back at your desk, then you don't know. The students can be doing anything they want on the iPads, and you wouldn't know. Well, that's all changed now with Apple Classroom. Not that I'm encouraging you to sit back at your desk. That is not. Can I say not 3 or 4 more times? Just to let you know that is not what I'm promoting. I still think that classroom management has to be there. You have to be up and out of your seat. You have to be walking around the class, interacting with the kids, looking to see what they're doing. But with Apple Classroom now, with our newer devices, this doesn't work on the old devices that have the I think it only works on the devices that charge with the lightning cables. But Apple Classroom allows you to take control of students' iPads from your iPad. It allows you to see what they're doing on their iPad at all times, and so it's not like that. A kid can't have multiple apps open and just swipe between them when you're coming around, like they could potentially do in the old days before Apple Classroom. So, to me, like I said, this is the game changer. When I heard about Apple Classroom, I was so excited to see it. And it is really, really awesome. You're going to love it. this is going to be great. Okay, I want to show you Apple Classroom. And this is, like I said, the game changer. I have two iPads here. The one on the right hand side is my teacher iPad, and on the left hand side is the student iPad. Okay, now students do have to manually join your class. So in the teacher iPad, I open up the Classroom app. It's right here, just Classroom. And you create your classes. So you can create a class. So I'm going to create a new class, and I'm just going to call this my webinar class. And I'm going to click on Done. Alright, so I have my webinar class. There's no students in it. Okay, so I'm going to open that up, click on it, and I want to add students. So I'm going to click on Add in my webinar class. And it says Add students to this class. Now, I'm going to my student iPad. I'm going to click on the settings. And in the settings, I have the Classroom icon. And so your students, you'd have your students go to this Classroom icon in their settings. Again, you do have to have a newer iPad. Mine's about 4 years old. It has a lightning cable, and that's new enough. And so when I'm in that Classroom tab, this says at the very top, a new class invitation. Okay, and it's adding webinar. Remember, I made the name of my class webinar. That's why it says add webinar. So I click on that add webinar, and it asks me for a class code. Now that class code I see right there on that on my teacher iPad. So I would tell my students the class code is 9842, and I click on the add button, and it says it's waiting for me. On my side, I see that Mark has joined my class, and I'm going to check, it has a check mark, and I click on add. Now I see that Mark is in my class. And okay, so now I'm looking at Mark's iPad. I can pull up Mark's iPad and see exactly what he's doing. I click on view screen, and now on my teacher iPad, and there's a noticeable bit of lag time, I see the student iPad. I can see exactly what they're doing in any app that they go into. So if they go onto the internet, let's say they go to ESPN, but it brings up a Google search, and I see that they're on ESPN right now looking at former NFL running back Larry Johnson believes he is living with CTE, and whatever it is that they're looking at. Okay, and so they can't hide it from you. You get to see exactly what they're doing at all times. Now it gets better. So on my teacher iPad, I'm going to click on Done because I'm done looking at Mark's iPad. Let's say I want to lock the iPads. Let's see, maybe I think that Mark is playing around with hopscotch, and we're doing something in class, and he's on hopscotch. Notice that on my teacher iPad, it shows me what app he's using. So when I'm on my home screen, it shows nothing. I go to hopscotch, it automatically pops up with the H for hopscotch there. But I go to Scratch, and it automatically brings the icon for Scratch there. And I'm in Comics Head, and automatically brings that icon for Comics Head there. And if I switch apps by swiping through them, that's reflected. So as a teacher, I can see exactly what he's on, what Mark is on at all times. And it shows me this for all the students. And in fact, I can see the apps that are open. I see that Comics Head is open, that there's one student in it, and Scratch is open, and there's one student. So if I had students who were in 5 different apps, I would see all those apps along the top there, and I could see who was in each of those apps. Okay, maybe I want to have all my students open up an app. I can have them open up, let's see, their cameras, and I automatically put all the students in that app, and I can click on Done. Or let's see, I want to lock them in an app after opening it. So I'm going to open up an app for them. I want them all in Animoto. I don't know if I have it installed on the second iPad, so it might have a problem doing it. Yep, it is there. So it went there, and now my student iPad cannot go anywhere else. I'm trying to go to a different app, and it will not let me. I'm locked in there. My teacher locked me in. And so I click on Done, and now students can do whatever they want. They can get out of it if they want to. I need to unlock it, actually. So I click on Unlock. I'm unlocking the iPads. Okay, it tells me the iPad's unlocked. So now I can go back and do whatever I want as the student. Okay. As well, maybe I just want to lock it down. And I lock down all the iPads. Now you can also do this with just one student if you need to. You can lock down as many students as you need to, maybe someone's off task, you lock down their iPad, and bummer, you're locked down. You weren't doing what you're supposed to be doing, and you can unlock it at any time. Okay, so if I go to the screens button, then I see what each screen is on, what each student is on, and so that will actually show all of my students, and you can see them all there at the same time, which is really neat to see. You can know exactly what each student's doing. Okay, so that is the Apple Classroom app. Like I said, it's the game changer. Well, let me show you what happens when, let's say that Mark, the degenerate student that he is, decides doesn't want to play that game anymore, and he doesn't want to be a part of this classroom. So I'm tired of Mr. Oaken telling me what to do. So I'm going to remove this class. I'm going to drop out of it. Wow. As a teacher now, I just see that Mark dropped out of my class, and I can say, hey, Mark, what'd you do? You got out of my class. What's going on? And he cannot get back in unless I re-invite him in. Okay, so I can have him put his iPad down, do whatever he needs to do, since he's choosing to try to come in and out of my class. He just can't come in and out at will. It has to be deliberate on my part, and I can see who's in. Okay, so that's the Apple Classroom app. It is amazing, and I'm super excited to see it in action. All right, the bonus content. Some display solutions. You've seen our apps, and one of the things that you probably wondering about is, okay, my kids have the apps, how do I display it? And so we have some display solutions. You can have go straight off of the hardware with the VGA cables and an app, and use the Lightning dongle to connect to the VGA. There's HDMI adapters, Apple TV, Miracast, Air Server Reflector, and XMirage. There's lots of ways you can display. If nothing else, you can just, the easiest is the dongle that connects to the iPad, and you just plug it into the iPad, plug the other end goes into your VGA, and it goes right into your projector, and you can do that. What I like to use is Air Server, which allows me to send and this is how I recorded the app shares off of the iPad. It allows me to project my iPad onto my MacBook, and then it projects from the MacBook, and I was recording, projecting from my iPad onto my MacBook, and that's how I was recording the app shares, so that you can see what I was doing. And I could do that. You saw that I did it with the two devices, the teacher and the student device side by side. So that's really good. If you have the older iPads, then you use the 30-pin cable, go 30-pin to VGA or 30-pin to HDMI, depending upon what type of projector you have. Same thing with the Lightning cables. Apple TVs are, I love the Apple TV that you can have connected to your projector, and then it will pick up you can send from any of the iPads that you have in your classroom. They can broadcast through that Apple TV and wirelessly. It is a little glitchy sometimes. It doesn't always work. They are temperamental, so that's just something to be aware of. I talked about Air Server, so you know that one. That's my favorite of them. And there's also something called Reflector, which does the same thing as Air Server, and XMirage is very similar. All these are free to try. I think they usually give a week or two trial, so you can try them out, see if they work, consult your technician on them, because they all use the wireless network at your school, so you want to make sure that you choose a product that's going to be compatible with the network at your school. Get you some assistance from your site-based technician, get it all set up. On some of these products, they do have educator discounts. Look at them, try them out, and find something that works. And if it doesn't work, don't keep using it. There are some books that you can access on iTunes that can provide some help for you and some ideas for you as well. So those are useful. Just do a search. Don't worry about these URLs. Obviously, just do a search and you can find them. There's lots of information out there. So I hope that you found this useful, that you were able to find some information that can help you to better integrate technology using the iPad and the apps on the iPad. Again, my name is Mark Oakton. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me with any questions that you have. I would love to provide the support that you need in order for you to be successful in your efforts to integrate technology into instruction. Before you exit the webinar, please make sure you complete the exit survey at the end, and have a wonderful day.